Let's start at verse 4. It says, harness the horses and get up, ye horsemen, and stand forth with your helmets. Furbish the spears and put on the brigadines.
Woo, it's time to rumble.
Wherefore have I seen them dismayed and turned away back, and their mighty ones are beaten down and are fled apace. And look not back, for fear was round about, saith the Lord. Let not the swift flee away, nor the mighty men escape. They shall stumble and fall toward the north by the river Euphrates. Who is this that cometh up as a flood, whose waters are moved as the rivers? Egypt riseth up like a flood, and his waters are moved like the rivers. And he saith, I will go up and will cover the earth. I will destroy the city and the inhabitants thereof. Okay? The flood is representing an army. In our case, in Revelation, it's the army of Antichrist. Okay? Let's look at, while we're there in Jeremiah, let's look at 47, verse 2 and 3. It says, thus saith the Lord, behold, waters rise up out of the north, and shall be an overflowing flood, and shall overflow the land and all that is therein, the city and them that dwell therein. Then the men shall cry, and all the inhabitants of the land shall howl, at the noise of the stamping of the hooves of strong horses, at the rushing of his chariots, and at the rumbling of his wheels. The fathers shall look back to their children for feebleness of hands.
It says the father shall not look back.
Shall not look back to the children of the feebleness of his hands. Okay. Bringing out the point, the flood represents an army. Let's go to the book of Daniel. Chapter 9. Daniel chapter 9, verse 26 and 27. And after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. And the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city. Who's that talking about? The people of the prince that shall come. That's the Antichrist. Shall destroy the city and the sanctuary. And the end thereof shall be with a flood. And unto the end of the war desolation are determined. And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. And in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice of the oblation to cease. And for the overspreading of abominations he shall make it desolate, even until the consummation. And that determined shall be poured upon the desolate. Okay. Talking about him breaking the covenant during the middle of the week, mid-trib. And then he's going to turn on Israel with war. He's going to turn on them. Okay? What does verse 16 say? Of chapter 12.
The earth helped.
And the earth helped the woman. And the earth opened her mouth and swallowed up the flood, swallowed up the armies, which the dragon cast out of his mouth. And for our reference there, we're going to go to Numbers chapter 16.
So the flood does represent the armies.
When the enemy comes in like a...
Flood. Numbers what?
Numbers chapter 16. Verse 16, I'm going to begin reading verse 28. And Moses said, hereby you shall know that the Lord has sent me to do all these works, for I have not done them of my own hand. If these men die the common death of all men, or if they be visited after the visitation of all men, then the Lord hath not sent me. But if the Lord make a new thing, and the earth open her mouth, and swallow them up with all that appertain unto them, and they go down quick into the pit, then you shall understand that these men have provoked the Lord. And it came to pass, as he had made an end of speaking all these words, that the ground clave asunder that was under them, and the earth opened her mouth and swallowed them up, and their houses, and all the men that appertained unto Korah, and all their goods. They and all that appertained to them went down alive into the pit, and the earth closed upon them, and they perished from among the congregation. The church lost a big group. Law of first mention. When you provoke God,
Yeah,
better watch the ground.
Woo! Will cause a famine to arise.
Verse 17, I think Sister Sandy had asked a question about it earlier. Verse 17 of Revelation chapter 12. I'm going to begin reading in 15 because it just helps the balance. And the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman, said his army, that he might cause her to be carried away by the army. And the earth helped the woman. And the earth opened her mouth and swallowed up the army which the dragon cast out of his mouth. And the dragon was wroth with the woman and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus Christ. The doctrine of the remnant, it's a doctrine known within Scripture. The doctrine of the remnant always refers to Israel. Always refers to Israel. We as the church can't claim to be a remnant, even though we speak about that often. When the Bible speaks of a remnant, it's talking about Israel. It begins with Abraham. The promises of Abraham, in order to be fulfilled, what God told Abraham in Genesis chapter 12, verse 1 through 3, where he's promised all these promises to Abraham and his seed, that meant that no matter what happened, somebody had to get away. Every time there was destruction, somebody had to get away that was eligible to be in line for those promises. There was always going to be a remnant all the way through. Okay?
He always has a runner.
He's always got a runner. I have wrote down here some scriptures to visit. Genesis 12, 1 through 3, we've been there a lot of times, so we don't need to go there tonight. But Ezekiel chapter 6. Speaking of the remnant.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, ma'am.
You said, remember, was it Elijah? And he was by himself and he was, saying, I'm by myself, and the Lord sent the raven and all that. And God says, I have a remnant of 7,000 men. Was that Jews too then? I mean, was that Israel too?
Yep,
Okay.
it was. There were 7,000 that hadn't fallen over to
Right.
worship.
Hadn't bowed their
Ahab
heads.
had presented, yeah. Because that was the problem at that time. And one of the things, in fact, I ministered on that a couple of weeks ago up the hill. But, you know, we were talking about the two witnesses, and we probably shared a bunch of that here. But part of the reason that I believe that Elijah is coming back as one of the second witnesses is because he ran from the spirit of Jezebel, and he'll be preaching against it in the tribulation. He will preach against that spirit that's driving him.
So anytime it speaks about the remnant, it's speaking about.
It's always referring to Israel.
Israel.
Yeah. What? Don't ever pick on me like that. I can take a lot of stuff. Ezekiel, trying to get past these obstacles. Ezekiel chapter 6, verse 8 through 10. Let's read 7. And the slain shall fall in the midst of you, and you shall know that I am the Lord. Yet will I leave a remnant, that you may have some that shall escape the sword among the nations, when you shall be scattered through the countries. And they that escape of you shall remember me among the nations, whither they shall be carried captives, because I am broken with their heart, which hath departed from me, and with their eyes which go a-whoring after the idols. And they shall loathe themselves for the evils which they have committed in all their abominations. And they shall know that I am the Lord, and that I have not said in vain that I would do this evil unto them.
That I would do.
I would do. Let's go to Micah chapter 2. Wake up, Micah. Well, Micah the prophet had a little bit to say here. Micah chapter 2, verse number 12. It says, I will surely assemble, O Jacob, all of thee. I will surely gather the remnant of Israel. I will put them together as the sheep of Bozrah, as the flock in the midst of their fold. They shall make great noise by reason of the multitude of men. And then our last scripture of the evening will be found in Zephaniah, chapter 2.
And we're where?
Zephaniah, chapter 2. And basically all I'm wanting you to know from what I'm teaching right now is the doctrine of the remnant. The doctrine of the remnant is it always refers to Israel. That's the reason when people come along with this replacement theology, where they're saying some group or something has replaced Israel, it's not scriptural. Zephaniah 2, picking up with verse 7. And the coast shall be for the remnant of the house of Judah. They shall feed thereupon in the houses of Ascalon. Shall they lie down in the evenings, for the Lord their God shall visit them and turn away their captivity. I have heard the reproach of Moab and the revelings of the children of Ammon, and whereby they have reproached my people and magnified themselves against their border. Therefore, as I live, saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, surely Moab shall be as Sodom, and the children of Ammon as Gomorrah, even the breeding of nettles and salt pits and perpetual desolation. The residue of my people shall spoil them, and the remnant of my people shall possess them. You know, one of the things that we find in this study in Revelations and all the promises of God, that there's going to be natural inhabitants upon this earth for eternity. They're going to come out of this time frame that we're in here, that we're studying. The natural inhabitants that make it through the Battle of Armageddon will be judged of whether or not they can go on into the eternity as natural people. Okay?
that you're talking about, they will be glorified, have glorified bodies.
They will not. They will be natural people
Forever.
forever.
You learn something new every day, every minute.
Did,
You're not familiar with that right there? Okay. In your spare time, read Zechariah chapter 14, the entire chapter. Yeah. Zechariah chapter 14 and Joel chapter 3. Read those two.
Is it Joel?
Joel chapter 3 and Zechariah chapter 14. Looking for the natural inhabitants that's going to go into the millennial reign and then on into eternity. Okay. Because Genesis chapter 3, where God said, or Genesis 1:26, where man is given the earth, dominion over it and all that, he was talking to the natural man. Okay. Natural man is going to fulfill that scripture. Okay.
you say what, Joel, what? 15, what, Noel? What'd you say?
Joel chapter 3
3.
and Zechariah chapter 14. And just put beside those two scriptures, natural man into eternity. And be thinking about that when you read it.